All righty, everybody. And here we officially have Tim Bohen. He's connected to audio and he's connected to video too. Tim, how are you doing today?
Great. You know, nothing better than you getting ready, setting up the camera and everything at 1:59 p.m., by the way.
I was entering a trade when I got back from my workout.
Well, fair enough. At least it's a good excuse, but it's still an excuse.
It is still an excuse. In fact, I'm probably going to have to go click the exit button in just a few minutes. I'm watching it from my laptop here. I got my desktop all the way over there. I've got that. I've seen you doing a couple videos on the StocksToTrade channel about that day 3 surge. You know, one of my favorite patterns. And I'm actually watching DRCT right now. I think we're up about.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I like it a lot for that afternoon. We got that Friday. Potential, hopefully short squeeze, but I mean, I don't know if we can get over highs, but my fingers are crossed. I've got my risks set. You know, that's all that matters at the end of the day is having that risk level.
Cool.
But Tim, how are you doing today? And by the way, so, you know, we were doing Cocktail Friday on a small cap recap and we decided to, beautiful. What have you got? Coffee?
It's Black Rifle coffee, man. So
that's the best kind of coffee there is, if I'm being honest. Are you a Starbucks guy?
Well, you know, no, but you know, it's a bummer because it's like, you know, especially when you travel, it's like your only option. I do kind of like the iced coffee, but I pretty much exclusively Black Rifle because veteran owned, again, cool company and everything. But you know, you're kind of forced to drink Starbucks just because they're everywhere. So
I agree. And it was, you know, it's funny. I was the Black Rifle went public right through SPAC. I believe it was through SPAC anyways, but I was trying to trade Black Rifle day in and because I liked it as a real company. It kind of reminded me, it had that DWAC feel, but it couldn't get any of that momentum going. I just kept getting chopped up on the daily. I liked it so much.
Well, it had that one good day, you know, about a month ago, and then our favorite, you know, YouTube chat guy killed it because it broke 23. It was beautiful. And then he leads everybody in it. And then since then, now everybody's bagged. So now it's like, we got to wait until probably need some sort of catalyst, probably. Hopefully they'll, I don't know. I see Rogan was posting pictures of their bags to his Instagram. Maybe that'll help. So
I hope. Well, and that's the biggest problem, right? Is when you have, for me, I love that nice multi-day structure, but it's so hard because you need a catalyst to really get it going. I mean, when the market was hotter, it almost didn't matter if you had a catalyst. If it was strong multi-day structure, it was probably bound to go. You had a really high odds, and now it's really dependent. Again, we need the volume, and in order to get that volume, you need the catalyst or just a crazy multi-day runner like Indo, right, or IMPP that gets those squeezes. But I've been waiting for Black Rifle to drop some kind of catalyst. I'm always watching it. I like it.
You know, I think it's you know, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I think that. I mean, obviously we're still in wild mode, but it's a little bit back to reality where, like you said, you know, all of 2020, I mean, so many of these stocks, you know, didn't even, I mean, literally no news, you know, especially like the meme stocks. So I think people are kind of scared when they see some, you know, 50% gap or on no news. They're like, whoa. So right now I mean, and it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just, you know, you look for stocks that actually have news. DRCT had some crappy analyst upgrade and some new board member or something, but at least it's something, you know. So
no, any news is better than no news. And I mean, it, you know, again, the better the news, obviously the better the chance, especially with nice structure, with short stuck. Those are my favorite longs, but they are a lot more, I'm going to say few and far between, not necessarily if you go back, you know, 5 years ago, there's an infinite amount more right now, but you know, compared to 2020, early 2021, it's definitely getting back to reality market. And, you know, that's probably for the best. I mean, it's funny. I was actually just thinking today, right, that it's been, I don't know how I did it because I'm so tired right now. Just, you know,
I told this story on a webinar the other day. It's like, you know, January sucked, but it was like I actually got some things done, like, you know, around the house. I actually like went outdoors. And then this last couple of weeks, like, I mean, I told on a webinar, every day at like 4:15, I take like a 20-minute nap in that chair. I'm like, geez, oh Pete, I kind of, it's a double-edged sword for sure. So.
No, it truly is. And, you know, I was just thinking about how, like, I had the market was pretty hot this week and finally had a good week. And it definitely, because, for me, January, I think I ended the month a little bit red, and I made it all back this week, which was fantastic, or February, I mean. But in the same breath, I'm like, wow, a week in and I am already exhausted. I don't know how I did it for months on end. I mean, it was, I'm sure you were just the same, because you were doing pre-market prep every morning, then all the time.
Yep. I mean, it's like, and doing 2, 3, 4 webinars plus trying to trade plus doing everything else. It's like, it just,
impossible.
I mean, I say it all like 2020, like, and obviously it's partially because of the pandemic. I mean, obviously it's like when you couldn't like do anything, I think, there aren't like those milestones that you think back, but like 2020 to me, it's like that year that didn't even happen, because I never left, like I never walked away from here. It's like I sat here at this computer all day, every single day, because I mean, it was like, even if you had a loser, even if you had a stopped out, you just wait 5 minutes and there's something else, and 5 minutes there's something else, 5 minutes there's something else. So
I remember it was the first time I was visiting Austin before I moved here. I was here with Tim Sykes and Matt Monaco, and I had never traded from a laptop before, which is, by the way, completely different feel than having my 3 screens and being able to look at, and back then looking at 20 charts at a time wasn't enough. And I was down, the most I had ever been down on this OTC. Our internet went out during a panic dip buy. I found myself down $10,000. And by the time my internet went back on, which was probably 5 minutes, I was up on the trade. and then after I sold, there was another one. I was like, there's no way that just happened. And but again, unfortunately, that's the past. I'm kind of fortunate. I hope we can get like a medium between that crazy hotness where there's enough opportunities, but not so much where I don't sleep.
Speaking of crazy hotness, are you familiar with the crazy hot matrix?
I'm not. Can you explain?
It'll probably get us canceled, but if you I know you're young. It's like a 10-year-old YouTube video, but if you search YouTube for the crazy hot matrix, it's one of the greatest whiteboard video. It's an incredible video. But anyway, so
noted. I will absolutely search that up. We don't need to get canceled yet at StocksToTrade. I know I'm sure you and I could probably easily get ourselves canceled, but we're gonna be very, very, very good about this. Now, so Bohen, we just started doing this talk show, right? And kind of what
are we live? I don't even know.
We're not live. We're not live.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay.
That is a plan, though. We'd love to kind of start going live, because I think it'd be a ton of fun to get questions, real time. Because my vision for this is that there's, especially now more than ever, so much more going on outside than just small caps. And I've noticed.
Oh, sure.
But as you see with this, we keep talking about it. I talked about it the past now 3 episodes, the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, because it actually does end up, these macro financial situations do work their way into the small cap market. And then from there, I'm hoping I think it'd be so cool. We start getting some OTC runners again out of this stuff. But
I gotta believe there's going to be something with, again, we already had the trashy NASDAQ oil and gas, but man, it's like these OTC guys gotta be, at the typewriters, because most of those guys don't even have a computer, but they're at the typewriters writing up press releases, hiring every ex-con they can get to pump their stocks. So I gotta believe we got an oil and gas OTC run coming.
So actually, this is
or worst case. I mean, like I said this the other day. I mean, listen, worst case, Putin is like, never mind, everything settles down, oil goes back to $50 a gallon, and we're happy there. It's kind of like. I posted a meme yesterday. It was like, every time the market dips on World War III news, buy the dip, because if World War III happens, you don't need the money anyway. So it's like, I would just assume oil go back down, but I don't see it anytime. I mean, this is a multi-month, probably multi-year deal, unfortunately.
I'm in Texas, right? And we're known for cheap gas. And I was driving, went downtown with a couple friends last weekend, and we were driving back, and we were looking at the gas prices, and I'm not joking. In Texas, it was over $4. It was $4.15 a gallon, and I was I was thinking to myself, okay, one, this is clearly overpriced even for Texas, because I know areas in like upstate New York where I grew up that's still like just barely at 4. And I'm like, you cannot tell me that it's more expensive in Texas than New York. But I was fortunate. I filled up the other day for, 2 days ago for $3.50 a gallon. And I'm like, wow, that's so cheap. It's so messed up to look at it that way. But we're seeing this outside of oil and gas is obviously the biggest kind of shift we're seeing in this overall market right now, is where everything is getting expensive. But even at the grocery store, I'm sure you've noticed, the meats are getting expensive now.
Oh yeah.
Everything. And I guess that's probably just a byproduct of, a mix of inflation, all this global conflict. People are scared, but I'd love to kind of hear, I know you just said you think this is probably a potentially multi-year issue. I know you have been very bullish on EV for a long time now. This is kind of one thing I really wanted to talk to you about today, because I really want to hear your opinions. I personally, don't get me wrong, I love Tesla. I know you and I had a talk over the summer where I was bearish on Tesla.
Oh yeah, homeboy was reading Michael Burry's tweets. Right before one of the 10 times he was wrong and deleted his Twitter again. Runs away. Anyway, I remember. So.
No, I'll never forget that conversation. You sent me like a 5-minute voice message just yelling at me. I loved it. But it's fun. But after that, I started noticing, okay, like, sure, maybe it's a quote unquote bubble. Is Tesla stock price overvalued fundamentally? Probably. But long term, the only issue I see with electric vehicles, right, is that, as of current, it's impossible to produce enough batteries to actually replace oil and gas. And I think I know you understand that, but why are you so bullish on EV? And do you see this current situation propelling electric or cleaner energy in the future?
Well, there's a lot has changed in the last 2 months. Okay. Well, really in the last year. So listen, one of the reasons I'm so bullish is I just think it's a natural progression of technology. It is just, as much as the internal combustion engine was incredible, it's just, it's like going from, a Pentium PC to a Core i9 or something. It's just a migration of technology, and it's inevitable. You look at the performance, you look at the capabilities, but the problem is I didn't want it to go down this way, because I wanted it to be like this slow, orderly march to new technology. And now it's become this political football where now, I constantly bash like General Motors and their terrible mismanagement ever since 1980 and Roger Stone, me and Roger, anyway, whatever the heck his name was, the CEO in 1980. But, but now we've got, exploding commodity prices. And, EVs use tons of metals, tons of rare earth metals, tons of conflict minerals. And now you got all this conflict going on in the world. So the supply chain issues. Okay. And now it's like, unfortunate, and it's still inevitable. Again, I still think it's inevitable, but the bummer is everything got screwed up by all this geopolitical stuff, because, when you got 100 miles of copper in a car, you've got nickel, you've got, again, all these metals from, unfortunately, conflict-ridden areas, Afghanistan, Central Africa, et cetera. And now you've got all this mobilization in Western Europe. It's going to slow everything down. And the bummer is now, what's the government do? And this is, here we go into the libertarian hour. The government is just going to throw money at it, which is just going to create waste and mismanagement. You look at all these COVID payments that people bought Lamborghinis with and stuff. It's actually it's that Ronald Reagan quote that is quite possibly my favorite quote. The 9 most dangerous words in the dictionary are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So now you've got this massive push throwing money at it that's actually, in my opinion, going to slow down progress, because government money is actually counterproductive to entrepreneurship. I mean, listen, I know Elon, I know Tesla got subsidies, but Elon was going to do that whether he had subsidies or not. He would have found money somewhere. He would have gotten investors. He would have done something else amazing to raise another $1 billion. But what drives him is saving the world, creating the best technology. And now we're going to have the opposite. So now it's going to actually slow down, in my opinion. And, and now you've got, you've got the administration, a lot of people in politics saying, oh, well, switch to an EV. Well, I can't get one. Number one, there's hardly any supply out there. And it's just like, how are people going to, when they're dealing with inflation, okay, the solution to fix inflation and exploding gas prices, I got to go out and buy a new car. That's my solution. So it's a bummer. It'll happen, but we probably just added 30% to the timeline.
Did you see that? It was a video from the White House. I think it was a press conference or something. And someone asked about, how are, normal people going to deal with this oil and gas? And I don't know who it is, and it's probably best I don't mention the name, but she said, oh, well, if you have an EV car, this wouldn't be an issue for you. And it's like, okay, wait a second. You're telling someone that's struggling to pay for food, rent, and gas that they just need to go buy an electric vehicle, which, listen, they're not cheap.
Piece of cake, man. Piece of cake, single mom, struggling to make ends meet, working 2 jobs. Now she's got $5 gas. Just buy an EV. Miss Johnson, it's easy, And
then she laughed. And then she laughed about it. And again, I don't pick sides or anything, but that just seemed like such an arrogant comment to make.
Listen, I equally hate both sides,
That's the problem. That's the problem. I wish there was just someone in the middle that could take charge, but it'll never happen. It never will.
Vote for me in 2024. But
are you gonna run vote?
I'm running for Congress. Yeah. Yep. So
I will. Well,
you can't actually. Well, I mean, again, hey, it's awful loosey goosey these days. Even if you are a Texas resident, you probably can vote for me. I'll get you a mail-in ballot. Don't worry about it. So,
and there we go. We just got canceled, Bowen.
Exactly. I've had several phases in my life. So I was an entrepreneur for 15 years. Then I went into full-time stock trading. Then I went into full-time educating and, working with you and StocksToTrade and everyone. So in 2024, I'll turn 50. I think it's a good year. I got enough gray, to make me look politician-y, but I don't know. I figure it's one thing to complain, like I've done since I turned 18. I've been complaining about politics and both sides, mind you. And it's like, hey, if I'm 50 years old and I'm in a position to do it, why not do it? So,
I absolutely love that. No, because I remember, you've been talking about this for how many months now? And
it started out a joke, which, probably most people's political, listen, probably half the politicians we got, it probably started out as some drunken joke. Meanwhile, you look back, you're like, holy crap, I've been in Congress for 48 years. It all started on a 3-day bender with my buddies,
I'm convinced they've just been on a 48-year bender ever since with some of the decisions they make. No, that's that's fantastic. I always joke about, I've joked about it for years, how I want to get involved in politics. And obviously I'm way too young right now to really get into actually any meaningful position. But seeing the way the world is going, I wouldn't mind it as I continue to get older. My whole thing is I like to try to make change where I see fit and in things I believe in. And
that's my thing. Like my plan is, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, 2 years and I'm going to try and make as much change. There's number one, there's probably a 0.001 chance I get elected. Number two, if I get elected, there's going to be a 0.00001% chance I get reelected. Okay. Because again, if I do it, if I make it, I got 2 years to go. It's not going to be business as usual. It's not going to be, following, the party line and just doing all these things. So It'll be a one term probably, but hey, you never know. Maybe 48 years later, I'll still be there. Who knows?
I gotta ask, what's like your number one goal that you want to change? What's that first thing that you would go?
Like if I had to pick one thing, see again, I've said it 3 times. I equally hate both sides.
Yeah.
Because listen, I lean conservative, and I'm going to give you my, number one issue, but I don't identify with the Republican Party because they spend just as much money, if not more, than the Democrats do.
Yep.
So fiscal responsibility would be my biggest thing. Just quit wasting money on stupid crap all the time and cut spending, cut the debt. Listen, roads, bridges, schools, that stuff matters. Okay. But there's a lot of crap going on. Again, as much as I want to see lower oil prices, oil companies should be able to make it on their own. Yep. Okay. Banks, if banks screw up and they over leverage, they should go out of business. General Motors, again, growing up in Michigan, I'm no fan of General Motors. If they screw up because they run their company like crap, they should go out of business. We should quit bailing out these companies. And listen, if GM died in 2008, who knows where Tesla would be today, or somebody else, maybe somebody else, and Chrysler got bailed out, and all these banks that got bailed out. So fiscal responsibility would be like, if I had to pick my number one hot button thing, and a lot of that would go to military spending again. I mean, listen, I've ranted a million times about how much I respect and love the U.S. military, and I think it's one of the greatest things that make this country what it is. But we don't need to be getting in mixed up in everybody's problems all the time. We got our own problems here at home. We got veterans that are homeless. Okay, we got problems at our borders. We can take care of, as Jordan Peterson would say, clean your own room, then worry about the other stuff. So.
I could not agree more with that last statement. It makes you wonder just if we're sometimes too involved in other people's businesses. And don't get me wrong, I think that's kind of, back years ago, what we needed to kind of set the national or the international stage. We needed to be that power that at least had a presence or a presence elsewhere. But are we getting too involved, right? Are we getting, and we're big enough now where I don't think we need to be that involved all the time. But
and again, if it's another thing. I mean, listen, if there is something terrible going on in the world, I'm not saying we just, tough shit, deal with it. I'm not saying that. But it's like, if we're going to do it, we need to actually do it. And this endless war stuff and this, great short story, I guess you would call it, by Smedley Butler. It's written back in I think World War I. He was a 3-star general, and he talked about war as a racket. Okay, this is 80 years ago, 90 years ago. Eisenhower warned about it when he left office. Okay, this whole business of war, that's what I'm against. Okay, yeah. Listen, if there is a genocide going on somewhere, we need to help that. Okay. Yes. We need to, I value the human race. Okay. I mean, I don't care where you are in the world. Listen, I'm a patriotic American, but if you're in a shitty situation, I value human life and I want what's best for you. But we can go over there and we can kick some ass and we don't have to be there for 25 years. But that's war is a racket, and it becomes a business. And that's why these things go on forever. Because listen, if you're getting, if you're signing, defense contractor contracts, because when you leave Congress, you're going to get hired by Raytheon or McDonnell Douglas, or you become a lobbyist for them. It just becomes a business, and war should not be a business. War is a terrible thing. It might be it probably is the worst thing that humans seem to never be able to solve. Been around since since picked up a rock and hit the other guy to take his steak or his buffalo or whatever. But we need to do it right, help the world, but quit with this endless war stuff. So, and quit making it a business.
One of the first, so back when I was in college, I had an internship. I was a supply chain major, and actually it was my second internship. I worked for a large government defense contractor. And on the supply chain side, I saw what we were spending on, and I'm sure it went to useful projects, but when I looked at just the budget for these I was baffled. I was like, what do we need to spend all this money on? In my opinion, it seemed way overkill. But again, as you said, war is a business, and that's how these companies stay afloat. Not to say they need to be cut completely, but there have to just be more logical solutions.
And something that, again, something that I would really push for is more accountability. I mean, listen, why can't I get a receipt for my taxes? Okay. I mean, I obviously I know that's a massive oversimplification,
right?
But why can't I, when I send that check in here in a month, why can't I see that 70% goes to this and 20% goes to that and 1% goes to that? Why don't I have that visibility? And I mean, I know why, because they don't want you to know where that money is going, but that would be another thing I would push for. That would never happen. No. I mean, it never happened, but never. I would push for it to inform the people that, I mean, you look at the marginal tax rate. I mean, what is it? It's like 80% now when you add in, your income, your property taxes, your sales taxes, your registration fee, all this stuff. And I don't know. What's it go to? It just goes in a big hole in the ground, and hopefully my road gets fixed.
Hey, I can't speak for Michigan, but I remember in upstate New York when I was living there, I was baffled at how, and again, it all went to New York City, that's why. But upstate, oh my God, I've never seen so many potholes in my life anywhere else I went, right? I mean, I complain about the roads here in Texas, but mainly because the lanes are really narrow. But the roads are great. There are no potholes. Now the weather, not nearly as bad.
They don't have a freeze thaw cycle.
Well, not until lately. Oh my gosh. I didn't think I need to bring winter clothes down here, but man, I've been using them more and more lately. It's like 35 out today.
But again, it's like, listen, why can't we be spending a lot of that money that goes overseas, whether it be to conflicts or whether it be to build a bridge across the other side of the world? Why can't we be doing that stuff at home, and improving education and improving schools? And, it's just, I don't know. So.
No, I completely agree. Now, I'll start to transition this here. So now I'm just sad.
Yeah, no, now we just got the hopelessness of it all,
We're just sitting here like crushing everyone's hopes and dreams that our money is ever going to be spent.
I'm gonna go off to Washington, and I'm gonna get ground up in the machine and spit out and come home a bitter old man, So
can you promise me one thing? If you ever make it into Congress, you will not change.
Oh no! Again, like I said, I won't get reelected. I won't get reelected. I'll tell you that much.
That's okay. I love it.
Well, I won't change unless the money's really good.
Well, hey, we have to make sure.
You slip me some Nancy Pelosi money and I'll change. Okay.
I was going to say, we've got to make sure that you're still allowed to trade while you're in Congress.
Exactly. That is the one thing, my friends. I don't even know what this show is called. Dear listeners, I promise you, also on my platform, elimination of the PDT, dumbest regulation in the history of mankind.
Yes.
And again, just such a great example of, unintended consequences. The road to hell is paved with good intention. I mean, I did a YouTube video yesterday, talking about how to help people work around the PDT, trading late day, trying to overnight, splitting up into multiple accounts. And it's like, I stop in the middle of the video as I'm explaining what the PDT is. And I'm just like, as the words are coming out, I'm like, this is like the dumbest, most moronic thing I could, who came up with this? Meanwhile, 20 years later, it's still here. So I'll eliminate that too, my friends. But I will not do anything to stop Congress from trading on inside information. I I'll throw them out the window at the conference room if anybody brings that up. Okay. That is protected. That is the sacred jewels that will not change under my administration.
Isn't it crazy too?
If anything, it'll be loosened up more if it can be loosened up more.
Isn't it insane? And like, this kind of brings me to something that's been on my mind lately. Probably
I'm just gonna be walking up down the halls of Congress with that little, like, with the little paper cup on all the committee rooms. I'm gonna be like, ooh, oh, what was that? Raytheon? Ooh, Microsoft.
Oh, God, I hope you do. And then,
I got my security clearance. I could probably do that. So,
you know what? If you
just walk in on accident. Oh, whoops! Whoa! What were you guys talking about?
I didn't mean to leak this information either. We can change it from the Nancy Pelosi tracker to the Bowen tracker.
Exactly. Fair enough. Yep.
Isn't it crazy how they banned that account on Twitter too?
It's just, it's so strange, man. It's just. And listen, that's another thing. Here we go back to politics. Free speech. I mean,
this is what I wanted to talk about.
It's like, and again, listen, this is not a political statement, but like, I'm sure you saw, Trump goes on that Full Send podcast yesterday, and I haven't listened to it. I don't even know if I will listen to it. I don't have time, but here are these guys that I didn't even know what the Full Send podcast was, by the way. Evidently, the guy was like sleeping in his car. Now he's made millions with this podcast. It's like the classic rags to riches dream. And they have a former president on their show, and like 6 hours later, it's just gone. It's just deleted from the internet. How does that happen? The
biggest problem too, right, is that, I mean, technically,
and listen, I would say, and I know, again, I already said it, and I'm sure most of the people know, because most of the people watching this are probably StocksToTrade. They probably know which way I lean. Okay. I'm surprised I don't have any guns behind me. Okay. It's like, listen, we all know what, but if they did that to a Democratic, if they did that to Joe Biden, I'd be like, that is bullshit. Why are they pulling a podcast down? I mean,
it's a really thin line, because at what point, right? And now again, it's, YouTube, it's a private company. They can do what they want, but at what point though, do we not have, the reason they took that down is because they claim they're spreading misinformation, but at what point do we not have the right to listen to misinformation, right? And it's now, again, I did watch the episode, and I actually didn't I didn't think there was really anything awful said on there. That was probably the most reserved I've seen Trump speak before, but it just begs the question, and this is kind of what I wanted to ask you, is at what point do we not have the right to hear different, even if it's wrong, right? How many books have been published that have wrong information in them? What do? They don't ban the books.
Exactly. And, it's just, it seems so strange, because it's like, I mean, obviously you're a lot younger than me. And, I grew up, I mean, I'm 48. So, I mean, I was, half my life was pre-internet. And I mean, listen, like you said, a book could be completely wrong, but I didn't have the internet. I couldn't fact check it. I couldn't know. I'd read it and I'd repeat it verbatim. But, social media was supposed to fix all that, and the internet was supposed to fix all that. It's like, you could just make up stuff, before the internet. Now you Google it and you're like, no, the sky isn't green, the sky is blue, but once you start curating that information, and everybody's got a bias, don't tell me that any of these fact checkers, whichever way they lean, every human has biases, and it's just such a slippery slope when you start deciding what is allowable and what is not allowable. And, it's like, it goes back to what this country was founded on. I mean, I'm reading a bunch of US history books right now. It's kind of my newest fixation. It's like they wanted to be able to say anything they said. And that's why they crazy bastards got in a boat and sailed over here, because that was what it was built on. And through history, and we've seen it over and over, it just repeats and it repeats, that whether it's stupid or not, you need to let there be free flow of information. And it's just so bizarre that the internet has become the opposite of that,
And, and I think this is probably one of the biggest issues. And there's probably a way to tie this into the markets in a sense, but one of the biggest issues I think that came out of the internet, and it's going to sound really backwards when I say this, but we actually have too much data in a sense that you can now find data, and as you should be able to, right, that supports any side you want.
It kind of reminds me when I talk about the process of picking a trade,
right?
It's like something I'll always say is you can talk yourself into buying a 10,000th of a penny OTC stock trading 100 shares a day. Okay. You can find a reason. Oh, my uncle said this, and that's the bad thing about the internet is, listen, you could have the dumbest, most idiotic opinion in the world, and you could find somebody that agrees with you.
Right.
It's probably Bryce too. You'd be like, man, I'm a complete crackpot, but Bryce agrees with me,
And that's exactly what the internet's and further though, it's like you're gonna find actual studies on these. And again, the data is so, like you said, it's so biased that it's so easy to get caught up thinking, oh, well, this has to be right. And it's just, I think without being able to hear all this information, hear, different sides, it's going to be very hard to challenge the beliefs. And this is circling it back to what we were talking about earlier in a sense. I think our world is becoming a lot, maybe capitalism's changing, but a lot less capitalist than it used to be because, as you were saying, right, these big companies get bailed out, right? And we're just now, we're almost redefining, and I don't know if I like it, but I guess that's progression, right? Where we're redefining the entire government, the entire social scenario through the internet. And hopefully we can find a way to really do that in a positive way.
It's funny because I strange times we live in because, I'm generally an optimist, actually very optimistic. But I tell you, it's like I go through periods of despair, but it's like it feels like something's coming. Now, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it ain't a fucking ICBM, I'll tell you that much. But it feels like there is some sort of shift that is coming and it's speeding up. I mean, it's like we're going parabolic as a civilization, and hopefully the dump doesn't come after that parabolic, but it's interesting because I still stay optimistic. And I think that a lot of people are waking up that business as usual isn't the way to do it. You look at a lot of these foreign conflicts. I mean, you remember, back when we were going to go in Syria, basically everybody said no. Fortunately, up to this point, we've kind of avoided going into Western Europe. But and I think that everybody is getting, it used to be the bummer with the whole free speech thing is it was so tribal because it was a lot about Trump. It became a Trump thing that he got canceled and all of that. And it was a tribal thing. But I think there's a realization now that isn't a good thing. And people are, waking up to that. And I'm optimistic, though I do go through periods of despair, I admit.
Well, and I think it's important too to like you said, because I'm in the same boat as you. I really cannot find a way to identify with either side. But that being said, if there's an opposing viewpoint that I disagree with, I think I'd still be just as angry that it was taken down.
Yes, yeah.
And there have been that I should say on certain sides that I totally do not agree with the opinion at all. And it got taken down because it just misinformation. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating. And I think I hope people are waking up to that. But you never really know, I suppose. Now, I guess the last transition we'll make here. I know you're a busy man, Bowen. I'm sure. Do you have a?
I just realized I didn't realize my co-host was here. I just realized that Spencer's over there sleeping on the couch.
Oh, what is it? Cat? I can't see. Is that your cat?
It's cat. Yeah.
Spencer? How old is he?
Oh, he was a stray. We took him in, so I'm guessing he's pretty young. I'm guessing 3 something.
Oh, cool. That's one thing I need to do. I definitely need to get a pet one of these days, but I feel like you have to be relatively responsible to have a pet. And I'm sure I'm sure as most people who watch me know that
Bryce is like, well, booze or cat food. Yeah.
Well, as I'm rocking a Miller Lite shirt, drinking a vodka Red Bull. By the way, thank you to all of you who voted for me to casually drink a vodka Red Bull. Thank you.
And
really,
Red Bull needs to reach out and sponsor this show. Damn it.
Or Celsius. Oh man, I like
there
Celsius.
We go. Yeah,
I'm a Celsius guy. No, so completely, almost. Well, I guess maybe not a complete shift, but I'm really kind of curious on, bring it back to a bit more trading related here. I personally think, and this is something I've been talking about a lot more lately, psychology, right? We all know trading psychology, hear it over and over again, but as we're seeing, psychology right now is changing in the world too. Right now, as in terms of trading though, how big of an impact do you kind of think? I want to hear your take on trading psychology. We all can learn the different patterns. We all can do this, but I think one of the biggest areas, and we struggle all together as human psychology. And I think it's interesting. Some of the best traders I know have some of the most unique world views. And I think it's because they understand there's a lot more, maybe it's a cynical side, but they understand it in a different light than a lot of other people see. And I just kind of want to hear your overall takes on how psychology works in trading.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the biggest things that I think is a problem, especially with like social media, is there's this, it's this ego thing. Like, I mean, you can see that with like, obviously online trolls and people that will just go to war on Twitter about something and ultimately like never admit that they were wrong. And, I mean, listen, again, a lot of tribal stuff, but if you're going to sit here and try and like go to war about mistakes that were made, particularly by governing bodies, say around coronavirus or COVID or the lockdowns and stuff, and then you see the evidence and you're still refusing to change your opinion, you're never going to make it as a trader. Okay. Because what you got to realize is that one of the most, especially when you're talking day trading crappy penny stocks, you are going to be wrong constantly. And if you can't come to grips with that and you can't accept the fact that, yes, the press release said this, yes, the volume was this, yes, the chart was this, yes, the float rotation was this, yes, this guy said this, but I was wrong because it just hit my stop. That is, I think, one of the biggest things why you see such a high failure rate. And I see that getting worse. Like people, and again, here's the old man talking, like these days, and I think it's magnified by social media and like everything getting recorded all the time, but it's like, you just see people that will absolutely lose their minds if they're like wrong. It's like, I mean, you see that on all these, some of these videos you don't even want to watch, where just like people will like go to war over, and they're wrong. And, it was like a couple months ago, this lady rear ends this guy at a stoplight, at a gas station. There's cameras everywhere. And he's like showing her the video and she's like freaking out on this guy that he was in the wrong because he didn't get out of her way. And it's like, the nice thing is, if you can conquer that and you can master that ego and be able to defeat that, then you got a great chance of being a successful day trader, because so many people just can't do it. And I think it's getting worse.
Do you think that boils down to an accountability standpoint?
Yeah, again, listen, probably all freaking participation trophy babies, and mama told them they were perfect and special and perfect little snowflakes, and they turned in crappy assignments all through school and still got A's. I mean, it's like, but again, it's like, and I know that's like, oh, bitter old man, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you see it every day. There's just, there is a celebration of weakness. There's a celebration of blaming others, not accepting responsibility. And again, if you can master that, if you can defeat that, I think anybody can learn a chart pattern.
Right.
Okay. Anybody can, look at some, again, some ridiculous float rotating stock that breaks the high of the day on Friday afternoon. It ain't rocket science. But if it breaks a high day and it pulls back and now you're wrong, that's where the rubber meets the road. And if you can't accept that you were wrong, if you can't take that hit to your account and your ego, well, the graveyard's full of you. So.
Well, and that's actually, it's funny you kind of mentioned that. We were actually just, there's a few of us in the office today, and we were talking about that kind of right before this. Isn't it, and this is like America as a whole, right? There was once a time where we always were stating, America is the best. We are and now, and like you said, we celebrate weakness.
Celebrate weakness and celebrate mediocrity.
Right.
Jocko Willink, it's like to me, I will never be the man that Jocko Willink is. I mean, one of the best Navy SEALs ever, one of the, multiple New York Times bestseller, running an amazing management company, running a company that restarted a defunct Maine company to make boots and jeans in the US. I mean, this guy, it's ridiculous, but that's what I look up to. And it's like, I want to see more of that, where other people will just be like, oh, he's lucky or whatever. And it's, I don't understand this, again, this celebration of weakness or admiration. I don't know. So,
well, and Bohen, to wrap this up here, I do have one last, and it's kind of inspired by what you just said there. One last question. This has been all over the place, but I guess it's all kind of tied together in a sense. Do you think how
angry was I when you were late? Is that the question?
Yeah. How now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, geez.
You sounded like an 11. I heard that scream. I hate late. No, how much of a lot of these issues that we have going on right now, not only in the supply, well, actually mainly in the supply chain, I should say. And a really interesting point to quick sidetrack that. I heard someone mention this maybe a couple months ago. Supply chain issues actually are not a supply shortage, it's actually a people shortage. And I think we're seeing that right now where no one really wants to work. I mean, you're going to have issues where you can't get the supply, but there's always ways to manipulate that or change the supply. And a lot of times it's a people problem. And I've seen that right now. But how much of a lot of these issues we have going on in the country right now, not necessarily a psychological standpoint, but production, supply chain, do you think would be solved by kind of working more towards in-country production?
Oh, I think, again, going back to my rant about, General Motors in 1980, so again, Michigan, born and raised, still live in Michigan, in the post-war era, Detroit was Silicon Valley. Okay. Yeah. It was the epicenter of the arts, epicenter of technology, basically post-World War II, the automobile was the computer. It was the same thing. It was like, just like Silicon Valley is all about technology, or the PC boom or the iPhone boom. That was the car. The car was the epitome of technology, architecture. Okay. Some of the Saarinen that, designed the St. Louis Arch and the TWA hotel that's now or was a terminal, Frank Lloyd Wright, bunch of stuff in Michigan. It was the epicenter of technology, innovation, and everything. And then all of a sudden these MBAs come along and they say, well, we're going to offshore this stuff to save 3 cents. And now all of a sudden, Detroit has collapsed over the last several decades. And we've seen that over and over again. And now we're suffering from that quote unquote innovation to move stuff off overseas just to save 3 cents. And, one of the reasons Detroit was so great was, everyone believed in the auto industry. And if you worked in the auto industry, you were respected because it was the innovation and the technology. And when you take that away, you lose pride. You lose pride in your country because you're not producing anything. If you're just staring at some spreadsheet all day, or you're collecting a check and you're doing nothing. So it is built into the American spirit to produce and make things. And again, I'm back to that, reading the American history I'm doing. And even, before, in the 1700s, the 1600s, or, all through the 1800s, manufacturing epicenter of the world, because it's just in our spirit to make things. And I think a lot of that spirit has been broken by taking that away. And we've got the best workers in the world. We've got the best work ethic in the world, and saving 3 cents on a freaking pen, it ain't worth it. It needs to come back. And those idiots, starting with Jack Welch, he's probably the worst one at GE, oh, here's a great idea, whatever, man. So
no, I agree. And there are scenarios where, probably quite a few scenarios where it does make sense to kind of just like really have a well-versed supply chain.
If the raw materials are right there, okay. I mean, listen, if you got wherever it is, Greenland, well, I'll choose something nice, nice and impartial. Nobody cares about Greenland. Okay. If the resources are there, the ports are there, and it makes sense to make it there, you make it there. Okay. But you don't move it over across the world, ship the raw materials over there, assemble it, ship it back, and save 3 cents. And now you've got, remember the whole idea behind Ford, Henry Ford. His whole idea was make this car affordable that I can pay my workers enough to buy my damn cars. And that's why Ford was so successful.
It's so funny too, because it's the people. So many people are complaining about like low minimum wage and whatnot. Yet we're supporting companies that are paying their employees 50 cents a day, or 50 cents an hour, and it's. If we brought a lot of this back here, and I'm not saying all of it, but if we brought production back here, one, minimum wage would increase because we would be paying our workers more. We would be, I don't know. It's a cycle. It's just
it's such a simple concept, because it's like, if you were like, if you think about it, if you started your little village, okay, what makes sense then? Here's your little village in rural Texas, okay. And you've got a baker, and you've got a butcher, and you've got a coffee guy, and you got a furniture guy, and you got a banker. Okay. And what makes sense? Where does it make sense? You build your community's wealth by supporting others. Right. You stay employed, you bring pride, you bring craftsmanship in. People are proud that they can see that, oh, Bryce bought my chair and it's out there on his front porch. And you build, that's how you build a community. That's how you build a country up. But if you're gonna pillage that so that you can get a bonus because you saved $3 million this month and you don't care, it's so short-sighted. It's frustrating, and I look back, and again, I know this is more bitter old man stuff, but you look back at World War II again, where the amount of mobilization and the amount of military gear that we made in a matter of a short period, no one else could do that. Okay. We won that war because no one else could churn out the guns and the tanks and the planes like we could. And then all of a sudden the war ends and everybody thinks, oh, let's ship it across the world. Great idea.
Yeah, and what's going to happen if we go to war with one of these countries we buy from? It's just a cycle. It is a cycle. And knock on wood, God forbid that doesn't happen, but anything's possible. Anything is possible.
And listen, it's called the Chinese curse, but it's never in my life, in my 48 years, the Chinese curse is, may you live in interesting times. And this is the most interesting time in my life, man. I remember I was, I grew up in the 80s. I remember, I was in the thick of the Cold War. We were doing, missile drills, fallout shelter drills, but I don't know. It's different. It's different now. So
no, I think regardless of anyone's, opinion on, anything we talked about, I think we can all agree this is definitely one of the most interesting times, probably in the past 100 years, if not more.
And then now the nice thing is, again, and obviously this is a trading related show. The great thing about it, volatility, man. And listen, again, you look at, you look at opportunity wise, here, 2-3 weeks ago, the situation goes down in Ukraine. IMPP goes from 40 cents to $10 or $15. INDO goes from $4 to $80. Okay. HUSA spikes 700% in one day. All of those are, trashy oil and gas stocks. And if you know what to look for, if you're putting in the time, listen to these podcasts, watching the videos that we put out, maybe you check out the Steady Trade team. Bryce and I work together there. I mean, there's never been a better, 15 years. I've been at this desk every day for 15 years. And it's never been like this. Never. You go back to 2020, obviously insane. 2021 might have been crazier. And again, here we are. It's not like 2020, but I'll tell you this, it ain't nothing like 2007 to 2019, nothing like it. So.
No, I couldn't agree. And I know that what we talked about today, definitely, maybe not quite, directly trading related, but I guarantee if you look through the lines, like you just mentioned, you are going to find ways this all applies to the market. It all trickles back.
I think that there's never been a time, and this is where I, when I say this, I don't know, maybe it's confusing, maybe it isn't, but there's never been a time where it's like things just made so much sense. It's like you look back at the COVID plays. Just insane stocks, but it's like, hey, we got a pandemic, or again, you look at the crypto run, or you look at this recent oil and gas run. It's like, it used to be, you had to like dig more. Now it's like, hey, oil pipelines getting shut down. Hey, look at this 40% gapper. It's not that hard to pick the hottest stocks these days. So
no, the volatility has certainly benefited day traders, especially. And this is, I don't see,
it's like 20, I think, 2020 and 2021 were amazing swing trading years. 2022 has been like the worst swing trading year in my, so far, because all these wild moves in the real stocks. But man, if you're day trading and just trading patterns and volume and float rotation, it's an incredible time. So
oh my God, it's amazing. And well, Bowen, that is going to wrap up our talk here. I know I'm sure you got to get going too. I don't know if you got a webinar or anything today, but as Bowen, as you mentioned, we're part of the Steady Trade team, guys. If you are not part of us, part of our group or anything, definitely be sure to check it out. We're going to have a link down in the bio. Bowen, how many days a week do you have a webinar every day, don't you?
Every twice a day.
Yeah.
On Mondays I do 3. 5 years I've been doing the Steady Trade team. I've done 3,200 webinars, and in 5 years I've never called in sick. Never been late. Never been late in 5 years.
And I know a lot of people on Twitter.
I had COVID twice and I still did the webinars. No bullshit.
A lot of people on Twitter message me, transitioning from OTC to listed. And Bowen, you're basically a fully listed guy, right?
Yeah. I don't know. The OTCs, it's like, I don't know. There's a time. That's the biggest thing I don't like about OTCs is they just go so hot and cold, and it's like, if you're solely an OTC trader, sometimes there's just nothing.
I'd argue a lot of the time there's just about nothing. Yeah. And guys, that Bowen is, like you just mentioned, 3 times a day on Monday, every day in the Steady Trade team. This is like an application process, but we will have a link down in the description if you're interested in joining a very serious mentorship group here. It's a great, fantastic. I'm part of it. I can testify that it's really, really great stuff. If you're looking to learn listed trading patterns and trading psychology and just basically learn what's moving in the market here. So that's going to wrap it up though. Bowen, thank you so much. Cheers to your Black Rifle coffee and cheers to my, now gone vodka Red Bull. Thank you so much for coming on today, Bowen, guys. And please be sure to leave a like down, or leave a comment down. Let me know if you're going to be voting for Bowen in 2024 for those of you Michigan folks.
And hey, feel free to drop your address wherever you are. I'll get you a mail-in ballot. Don't worry about it. I'll get you 10. I'll get you 10. So make sure your mailbox is empty because I'll fill it.
Oh, we love Bowen, everybody. All right, Bowen, thank you so much for coming on, man.
We hope you guys enjoyed that last video. Thanks so much for watching and being a part of the StocksTrade community. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Our goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but we can't do it without your help. So if you enjoy what we're putting out and want to hear more, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.